Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Living with XXY podcast series. I'm your host, Ryan Briganti. So today's episode is going to be all about male infertility within our community with Klinefelter syndrome. And today I have Charlie Plaisance on the other line, who's 38. What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. So, speaking of like being a father and being diagnosed with Klinefelter syndrome, can you kind of walk us through how you got diagnosed?
Yeah, I got married when I was 27 years old, and me and my wife we felt old enough to just start trying to have kids right away. And we tried, and nothing happened. And then so I think we both kind of got checked out, and I was praying that nothing was wrong with her because I'm the type of person that if something's going to be wrong with someone, I'd rather it be me because I feel like I can deal with things, and I just wouldn't want other people to have to deal with them. So, and it was me. We found out through, can't remember how we got there, but we did genetic testing and we found out that I had the Klinefelters and that I had a very, very low sperm count. And as a matter of fact, it was there was 3 living sperm with no tails. So they were immobile, and there were only 3. And we did the test like 3 times, and it was the same every time. It was just 3 immobile out of like there's supposed to be like 45 million or something in a sample, and it was 3. So we decided that we were gonna do the micro tessie, and we were gonna proceed into IVF. And we had the donor backup, but then they ended up finding and matching with the embryos, so we had 6 chances.
So when you got diagnosed, what was that like? Did you go in to do a sperm sample? Is that kind of what started the doctors and figuring out what was going on with you?
Yeah, I think so. I think we yeah, we did that. Yeah.
And then that led into a karyotype. What was it like? So when you did your sperm sample, they found those couple of sperm with no tails.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was it like learning and finding out that you had this genetic condition?
I think that I don't know how it felt. I think I was relieved that it wasn't my wife. I was relieved that there was an answer, and I was relieved that there was a possibility to have kids, whether it been through a donor or whether it been through mine. I think that learning more about Klinefelters, a lot of things in my life started making a little bit more sense. But I mean, I never thought growing up that anything was different or that there was a reason for anything. It just random.
And what age were you when you got that diagnosis?
27.
So kind of finding the diagnosis through the fertility journey, did you need time to grieve and your wife to grieve with that going on, or was it pretty quick into learning about the microtest surgery?
Yeah, I'd say it transitioned pretty quickly. Um, oh, I guess we waited a year, I'm told. Some people remember things better than other people. And so, yeah, I guess we must have taken a year. And then we did, because we weren't sure if we were going to do the microtesty or we were going to adopt. But what we didn't like about adoption was that it's never final. Like, you can get a kid and then they can take it back. And depending on where you get the kid from, like, you fall in love with this child and then all of a sudden the mother decides she wants it back. And then, not to mention all the money and everything that it costs, like, that's some emotional damage that could cause, and we just we were confident that we could not handle that if that were to happen. And we came to terms with the alternative, which was the IVF, and if we would have to do a sperm donor, because we had to be all right with that before we even started. And we decided that we were all right with that, because we did have a lot of love to give, and we did want a family, and we wanted to, do our part in life and make the world a better place by creating children who were self-sufficient and not slacking on society.
So going into taking that year off, was it, going into the microtest surgery, how did you prepare for it? Was it covered through insurance? Like, how can you kind of walk us through those steps?
I think some of it was, but I think the majority of it was not. And at one point they told us, I think it was a procedure on my wife, they told us that it was covered, and then later said, oh, just kidding. So that wasn't very cool. But yeah, it was real expensive, and we paid for it out of our pocket.
And when you got your diagnosis, is it something that you kept to you and your wife kept to yourself, or was it something that you opened up and told family and friends about it?
We didn't tell a lot of people right away. I think we told my parents, and I think it was a little hard for them to kind of understand or grasp the situation. But we had to have kind of a couple conversations with them on exactly what it meant, and how we wanted to proceed, and who we wanted them to tell, and which that list was very short. And I think my brothers know. I've got 4 brothers, all younger. I'm pretty sure they know, but it's just not something that I feel necessary to talk about, like, on a regular basis. I'm not ashamed of it by any means, but I don't feel like it affects my day-to-day life. I get up and brush my teeth just like everyone else does. So, I can go to work and have fun with my friends, and it's just not something that's a big deal, I guess.
So when you went into, finalizing the surgery and getting ready for it, did the doctors tell you any percentages of what they would find, or how did you emotionally or mentally prepare for that surgery?
We kind of had a pretty good idea of the outcome based on the sperm test. I didn't know that, I wasn't confident that my non-mobile sperm were going to be able to complete the procedure. But then, obviously learning how it actually works, that they don't have to do any swimming, that it would be, we prayed a lot about it. And so we were confident that it wasn't in our hands. And, while it's not necessarily along the lines of how it should be, naturally, it's still life, and God creates life, and God is there at conception, whether that conception is created by, a man and a needle. It's still, God gave that man the knowledge and the education to do that. And so we just felt that it was okay. And we just knew that whatever they found, we were going to use them all, whether that meant we had 0 kids, or, let's say 10 kids if they found 10. So that was our agreement with God, that we were going to use them all, and that we weren't going to let any of them go to waste. Because in our eyes, that's a concepted baby, and therefore terminating that life was just as good as an abortion in our eyes. So we weren't going to do that.
So going into it, was your wife preparing for IVF as well? Were they doing was she doing the shots and all the eggs?
Yep.
while you were getting ready for your surgery?
Yep. She was doing that, and we were doing what was that injection? Oh, yeah. She was doing her side, and then so once they got ours, then they were able to get hers, and then put them all together, and then it was carefully balanced.
So what was it like waking up from surgery? What did the doctors tell you? How did you feel the next couple of days?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I would be a poster child for making that be a good idea to do. I don't want to scare anyone, but just make sure that after your surgery, you make sure they give you some pain medication before you leave. Mine ran out. It was on Saturday night, and we couldn't find a pharmacy that was open, and so it ran out before we got more pain medicine, and it was the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life. A grown man, I guess I was 27, so I guess I was kind of not a grown man yet, but I was, yeah, and I've chopped the tip of my finger off before, so I was on the ground in a ball crying because it hurt so bad.
Can you explain, micro tease for all the people that are listening? It is basically like a micro needling. They're going into the testicles, cutting them open, and seeing if they can extract sperm with a microscope. Can you explain kind of what that was like, what it felt like, or did you have to wear a jock strap? Did you have to ice it? Like, were you immobile for a couple of days? Like, how was that experience?
I think that, well, so at the time I was in the lawn care and snow removal business. So we always it was our plan to time this during the winter. So I wasn't walking around doing much. When it snowed, I would plow, but I would be sitting in the truck. And so I didn't have to wear anything special, but I did, have to not walk around too much. And so it felt, when it wore off, it felt like I was scissor kicked in the nuts super hard. And it just, the pain just, it wouldn't like go away. It was just constant until I got the pain medicine back, and then it was fine.
And how long did it take you to get over, like, where you were able to walk and get back to normal, where it wasn't bothering you?
I think it was pretty quick, maybe a week.
So with
And
all
it's just it's a very small, incision, so it's not like it's this, and just a couple stitches, and they just went away. And
so with that being, with all the pain of the physical pain, what was the outcome of that surgery for you?
The outcome of the surgery got me, in the end, 3 kids. And we did one, or did we do 2 at once? We did 2 the first time and got 1, and she's my 9-year-old daughter, Lily. And then we did 1, and it didn't take, and then we did another one, and it didn't take. No, we did 2, 1, 2, but there was 6. Oh, there was 5. So we did 2, 1, 2, and on the third try, and I believe it was like, how much was it? It was like $7,500 a try. Yeah, for the what? FET. And then we were paying for frozen storage and stuff. But like each time we tried, and the initial one, I think we calculated it was like 40.
Including the micro test, or just the IVF process? Okay.
Yep. And then, so yeah, we're like, yeah, we've saved up $7,500. Let's try it again. And so, on the last one, we got twins. And then my daughter, she's normal. And then my son, it's unrelated. It happens at conception. He has a genetic syndrome, not Klinefelter's. It's called Rubinstein-Taybi syndrome. I think it's even more rare than Klinefelter's, much more rare. It's like 1 in 250 to 300,000. And he has the deletion on his 16th chromosome. So he's missing one part of the 16th chromosome. And so that's actually been harder to deal with emotionally than my syndrome.
Did you guys know about, I know that with IVF, they check all the, the embryos and all that stuff. Did you guys know about that diagnosis before?
No, we didn't do that. I didn't feel like it mattered to me, because what would I do? Would I get rid of it? No. So it didn't matter. So we didn't do that. And actually during her pregnancy, that he was the strongest baby in her womb. Like, he was the most active. And we didn't find out until after they were born. They were born early, at how many weeks? 36 weeks, 5 days. And they came quick, within 2 hours of each other. Well, I guess that's not quick, is it? She had to wait 2 hours between the two. And then, so they were small, and I think it's kind of standard stuff where they're in the hospital at the beginning, and they got to get enough food in them before they let you go home. I'm telling you. And then so he wasn't progressing, and then we found out he was aspirating every time he swallowed. But we were using breast milk instead of formula, and we had different sources where we were getting it from, because if you are going to aspirate, you're better off to aspirate breast milk than other stuff. And then we got to the point where we did genetic testing, and then that hit me a lot harder than myself.
So I kind of want to take it back just a little bit on your first daughter, and going through this process of kind of finding out that you guys were trying for kids. You ended up being able to have kids with your biological sperm, which is super rare in our community, through science and medical intervention. And then when your wife learned that she was pregnant and that, that baby was healthy, and you guys got those results, how did it feel to be trying for kids for a long time and then taking a year off, and then being like, all of a sudden she's like, yeah, I'm pregnant?
It was pretty amazing. It wasn't, like the normal, like, the pea on a stick. Oh, it's a surprise. But it was very exciting. And I guess I was jumping up and down. Yeah, when she was being born, it was very exciting.
Yeah, that was my next question, is like, when she was born, how did it feel to, your whole, I'm sure, like, did Klinefelter syndrome and everything you went through to get the baby where she's there, all that disappeared, and you were just like, I'm just a dad, like, this is dream come true?
Yep. I have a great dad. My dad is the best dad in the whole world. And I wanted to be able to do that also, take what he taught me and be a dad myself. And it was just amazing.
So what was the time frame within the first child to the twins?
So Lily's 9 and the twins are 6. So yeah, Lily was January and the twins are December. So they're pretty close to 3 years apart.
And so I think one of the big things here with male infertility is, a lot of guys that have this diagnosis, Klinefelter syndrome, or other guys out there that don't have XXY, that are going through male infertility, no one wants to talk about it. And so as far as, did you feel when you got the diagnosis and they told you, you weren't going to have kids biologically, or most likely not without medical intervention, did you feel inadequate? Did you feel like you were less of a man, or did any of those thoughts or anything come through your head?
Never. No.
So
I mean, it's just different things happen to different people. And I didn't think that it was because I was less of a man. And I never even, I was sad, obviously, but, there's things that you feel like you miss out on. Like, you don't have the whole, we accidentally got pregnant, or, it's more of a thought process, and you have to do things to make things happen. And, it was just different.
There's no with a lot of the XXY guys out there, there's no oopsie. Like,
Right. If you
going,
want it, you got to make it happen.
yeah. And a lot of the guys that do try, a lot of the guys that do have, like, they try the microtease, but it doesn't work for them. They usually end up going through adoption or donor sperm, to make that happen. And there's a whole acceptance piece there that they have to go through with accepting this child as their own, which some guys have a hard time with and some guys don't. It's kind of like you said, it's a spectrum. It's all over. And so I guess, what is some advice that you would give to guys that would be listening to this podcast?
Yeah. So repeat that question in a second. I'll say this. We did do genetic counseling, and we went to a support group a couple times and for the IVF, and that was super helpful. And I think there was it at the group one or just we had an individual one, and I like sobbed. So I guess it did hit me harder than I remember. Maybe I just
being a tough guy.
regressed or, hid it away. But it was very emotional, and I felt like I wanted to be a dad so bad, and that I might not be able to, and it hurt.
Seems like your wife knows a lot more. You've she's held on to the memories, and you've kind of just been like, I have my own company. I've got to work. I've got kids.
Right.
This is part of my life. I'm just going on with things full steam ahead.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what do you do for work, as far as you're a father, obviously, but do you have your own, you have your own company? And so what do you do?
I can go quick at the beginning. 2005 at a lawn care company. I've had up for 4 guys working for me. This last summer downsized. And I also have a snow removal business that I started with a partner in 2018. We use agricultural tractors and inverted snow blowers doing residential driveways. That's going really well. I have decided not to continue the lawn care due to the downsizing. And for the last 3 years, I've worked for my father-in-law at a cabinet shop, and I just took that over from him. So I've done quite a few different things, but I'm really enjoying what I'm doing right now.
So you work with your hands?
I work in the office, but I took a class at a local community college for kitchen and bath design, and so and I also went to mechanic at that same college, and then also horticulture and landscape design at a different community college. So I got a couple different things, and they've all helped me do the different things I've been doing. And but I really like the cabinet and the industry, and creating something and helping people have a funner life.
Have more cabinets in their kitchen to store more stuff and have it look beautiful. I can see your wife laughing in the door over there.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Just a slight reflection.
It's really, really small.
I
guess the question I asked is, going through this experience and finding your emotions during that counseling, and then, you obviously have had a wonderful and supportive wife through this whole process of taking the year off. If the guys that are listening to this, what is some advice that you would give them that are either getting diagnosed that are getting diagnosed trying to have kids?
Pray a lot. God will help take the burden off of you, and help you, and like life will find a way. And God is the way to that life. And if we didn't have the spiritual life that we had, there's no way that we'd probably even still be together. And so I would say, if you want life, then do what you have to do to get there, whatever it takes, if that's what you want. But it's also fine just to, we would have been all right if it was just us. But if we didn't have God, it wouldn't have been. It would have been me and then separately her.
And for some of the, I would say that that's probably the same message that you would say for mothers in utero who are getting this diagnosis and listening and learning about, the future of their son. With obviously science will evolve, and who knows what the process will be later on. But there's so many terminations within our community, going on with guys like us that potential kids that could be just like us, and the medical information, everything is just saying, horrible things. And why did you want to put yourself out there in this way? I know that we've shared your story a little bit before, but why did you want to, again, like, put yourself out there and just talk about Klinefelter syndrome and male infertility?
It's every life is important, whether it's a short life or a long life. And my mom didn't know what I was going to do when I was in her womb. There's no way to tell, and if you're born and you shortly die, your life still served a purpose because you touched someone, whether it be your mother or your father or a doctor or someone that hears your mother crying, or, there's just, every life matters, whether it's for 5 minutes or 100 years. And nobody has the right to decide that for another person. And things are scary, but it's going to be okay because God is there. And in the end, you will die. Everyone will die. And then I believe that we will go to heaven, and that will be an everlasting life. And so what's there to lose? And
yeah, I think that, within our community, there's a lot of shame around the diagnosis. There's a lot of guys don't feel adequate, or they don't the stigma online, with all the information, all the awful photos, outdated imagery. Like, this is 1 in 500 males, only 25% get a diagnosis. And so here we are, trying to change the stigma, trying to change all this past information to give people a voice like yourself. And before living with XXY, did you ever share your story publicly, like on any other outlets or anything like that? Or is it something that you kind of just kept yourself and moved on with life?
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I didn't know that there was a lot of other people that had it. I didn't know the statistics really, or really pay attention to it. It was just, it was something to where we had a problem and we found a solution. And, it, like I said, I didn't think there was anything different about me growing up.
That's a really good, just the fact that in some ways, it's almost a blessing that you didn't get diagnosed until later on in life, because who knows how you could have been treated or anything on those aspects. And I'm not going to go into the what ifs of, if you found out earlier, who knows where your life would be. You might not have the 3 kids, the beautiful kids that you have now. I think
Right.
that, oh, go ahead.
No, it is a really good thing that I didn't know that I was infertile earlier on in life.
Because
I was just I had fun with people. So.
there were no oopsies about
No.
There were no little boys and girls running around.
No, the only kids in this world that are mine are living in my house.
I mean, I think that's a good perspective, though, is knowing that you can have fun in your younger years, knowing that, like, if you, like me, I was diagnosed in utero. I'm 37. And then my parents told me at 9. I started testosterone at 13. And in my early 20s, I would tell people right away that I couldn't have that I couldn't have kids. And so a lot of the girls were like, oh, I want biological kids, and they would leave. And that would, more fish in the barrel for me on the ones that don't want kids, or when their eyes lit up when I told them that I couldn't have kids. So I didn't look at it from like, oh, woe is me, I can't have kids. I looked at it from the other perspective of, if I tell people right away, how can I, what's their response going to be? And then when I did get those responses of like, oh, you can't get me pregnant, then it was like, oh, hey, let's enjoy my 20s. Socially awkward,
Right.
usually online dating, but having fun with it. So there's always, if you're willing to put in the hard work, and there's always something positive that can come from being different and being unique. I guess we've shared your story. We've shared your surgery and some really vulnerable things, and appreciate you putting yourself out there, and always being willing to share and open up and talk to other guys and families in the community. So I'd like to thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Of course, man. Well, I think that's it. I think we'll end it right now, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Have a good night.